¿Qué tal, comunidad? Aquí habla su abogado, Ray Ibarra Maldonado. Folks, you've been seeing all day an attempt to distract you from the mission at hand, which is voting tomorrow. The Trump administration today announced a move on DACA. And also, we're very near another deadline, which is not just the election tomorrow, but there's another way that you can voice your opinion directly to the administration, the Trump administration, about what they are doing and what they plan on doing with permanently detaining children. So I'm going to tell you about tonight are those two things: what's new on DACA, what happened today, and how you can comment on the proposed Trump administration. So I need you to do, if you're watching, thank you so much, very much appreciate it. If you can go ahead and hit that share button, give us a like and give us a share, because we really need people to know the true information about DACA, not freak out. Every time there's a new something Trump does on DACA, people get really scared, nervous, completely understandable, because your legal status is in limbo of the courts and this administration, and it stresses people out and it frustrates people. So I want to make sure that we get you the accurate information. So if you know anybody that has DACA, or parents or somebody has DACA, kids have DACA, you want them to know the truth of what's happening, and you want them to be able to comment on what's happening as well. So give us a share, give us a like, really appreciate it. All right, so what happened today from the Trump administration? The Trump administration filed a writ of certiorari. It's very hard for me to say that word, so I'll say writ of cert, is what we call it in short in the legal profession. I'll bring that up for you guys right here, right now. So here we have the writ of cert filed today in the United States Supreme Court. Here you have in the Supreme Court, United States. There's no number attached to it yet, because when you file it, that's when the number gets generated. So United States of Department of Homeland Security et al. Versus Regents University of California. This is who first sued there in California, with all the other et al., all the other plaintiffs that sued as well. So it's a petition for writ of cert before judgment, which is very, very rare. In fact, the administration has already tried it one time. They already tried the writ for cert before judgment and were denied. In that denial, the Supreme Court said, Ninth Circuit, we expect you to act expeditiously, which means faster than normal. And they did do that. They set a hearing faster than normally would happen, but they've yet to issue a decision. And if you remember, the Trump administration a couple of weeks ago sent this kind of threatening letter to the Ninth Circuit saying, if you don't have an answer to us by October 31st, we're going to go back to the Supreme Court for a writ of cert to try to get this on their docket for this year. How about the timing on that, folks? How about the timing of saying, we're giving you a deadline, Ninth Circuit, which I've never seen done before, or we're going to go to the Supreme Court, and then the day before the election, they happen to file it to get into the media. And if you Google DACA, you're going to see every media outlet reporting on this story today, because the administration wants its base to be riled up about immigration, so they go to the polls tomorrow and they don't lose in the midterm elections, as very likely is going to happen. So it's a pathetic, sad, last-minute effort by the Trump administration to draw their base out on the backs of our community, on the backs of these individuals, these great people who have been here working so hard, providing for themselves and their children. And now the Trump administration is trying to put that fear out there that DACA folks are taking things away, and therefore we need to end the program altogether. So we have the Noel Francisco, Solicitor General, who filed this today. I won't go through the whole thing, because it's essentially the same as every other argument that they make and that they've lost on every time. There's nothing really new as far as their legal argument. And they're asking the two questions here: whether DHS decision to wind down the DACA policy is judicially reviewable, and whether DHS's decision to wind down the DACA policy is lawful. So those are the two issues that they're asking to review. And it's the same ones that they've been asking every court of appeals to review, and that they've essentially lost so far until now. So here goes through the body of the writ of cert. Here's an overview of what happened. I'm going to take you straight down to page 32 here, which to me was the interesting part in this. Let me get us down 30, 31, 32. All right. We have the court should grant cert before judgment in all three cases. So the Trump administration is saying to the Supreme Court, we want all the DACA cases essentially that have won and are at the circuit level now to be kind of consolidated and taken up at one time so the court can finally issue a decision. This is, to me, unprecedented and something new that the administration is trying to do, basically saying, let's just get it over with. And the very last sentence here, the court should grant review in these cases, ensure it can provide a timely and definitive resolution of the dispute this term. That sentence tells you all that you need to know about what happened today. The administration asked the Supreme Court to take up all of the cases that are still pending, still being litigated, still being decided by the lower courts, jump them up because they're afraid if the court doesn't take it up right now, that they're not going to take it up until next year, which leaves DACA around for a whole nother year, right? Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions on that? Rosemary can't read that fast. I am sorry. You get those speed reading classes, or I can simply put the link down here so you can, at your own speed, go ahead and go through that. So I will make sure and do that after the video so you can see all the 34 pages of government mumbo jumbo saying the same thing they say every time. Of course, now we have a court who more than likely is going to rule in favor of the government, and that's why they want it to get up there so fast. But also politically, they want to get up there so fast solely for the election. So unfortunately, that's what we have from the Trump administration today, a political ploy to ask the U.S. Supreme Court to take up the DACA cases so they can issue a decision before the end of next year, likely. I think the court would stop hearing cases in June, so they're trying to get it on next year's docket before it wouldn't get there for another year. So that's exactly what the Trump administration did today. Still no decision from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. They did not cave in. So Alejandra just got on what happened. Quick snapshot. That one sentence is all you need to know, Alejandra. Today, the Trump administration petitioned the Supreme Court to consolidate all the DACA cases, to take them up, issue a decision before any of the Court of Appeals are finalized with the case. That's what they're trying to do, more of a political ploy to get in the news before tomorrow's election, and they're hoping to end DACA sooner, have the Supreme Court take it up sooner. Do I think, in my crystal ball out here, do I think the Supreme Court is now going to grant this? I think there's a possibility, only because the first time that they rejected it, they said, go expeditiously. And then it hasn't happened. The Ninth Circuit's kind of been dragging their feet. I think there's a chance they consolidate and say, hey, this is coming to us anyways, let's just go ahead and take it. But could also be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, because that at least preserves it for another year. So nothing to stress out about. Anybody that has DACA doesn't need to freak out. This does not mean DACA is going away today, tomorrow, or next month. This does not mean anything completely negative. It's the administration trying to ask the court to have a quicker decision on the DACA case within the next year. Because their thought is, if we don't get it on the court's calendar now, we're going to have to wait 2 years to get a decision. So no stressing, nothing to worry about today. Continue to focus on the elections and this next thing that I'm going to tell you about in just 1 second. But before I do that, does anybody have any questions? Please drop them down below. Myra, what a low blow to our dreamers, is exactly what it is. It's just saying, you're less than human, you're a political pawn, and we're going to use you to our political advantage, and we don't care if you get stressed out or if it gives you anxiety, because we want to win the election tomorrow. That's what the Trump administration is doing. Thank you, everybody, for, well, here we go. We got Alexander. How long do DACA recipients have to renew? When could the Supreme Court decide to take the case, and if they do or do not? Wonderful question. So first question, how long do DACA recipients have to renew? Right now, we're still pretty safe from my perspective. The only curveball that could happen is if the Ninth Circuit rules against us. That would just shock the world, but it could happen. So my advice is, if you can renew now, if you have the funds to renew, it doesn't hurt, say if you're going to expire within a year, as opposed to the 6 months, to go ahead and send it off and get those extra 2 years. It is more money, but it gives you additional time. I was more stressing about it when the Texas case was not being adjudicated by Judge Hannon yet, because my fear was he was going to rule against us. He did not. So I'm a little bit calmer now, and I think if the Supreme Court does take the case, then we can expect them at some time before June of next year to actually hear the arguments and then issue a written decision sometime after that. So I think we're still into the end of next year, the latter part of next year, before we would see the Supreme Court issue a written decision. Just my estimate, they could say, we want to do it expeditiously. Let's put it on the docket faster. Let's get a written decision out fast. So it could happen sometime early next year, but I don't think so. I think the most time that we would be afraid about would be sometime mid to late of next year, which is what the Trump administration wants. If they don't take the case, it wouldn't be until the year after, 2020, where the Supreme Court would take it up and issue a decision. Does that make sense? All right. What else do we have here? Thank you for the info, of course. Isa, hello, no problem. And everything right now is for the election, but watch out. This newly appointed federal judges, long-term as well as new IJs after the election, they'll be calculating where they can take any future cases and make them more favorable to them. No doubt, which is why elections are so important, because they decide who gets to put in all these little smaller positions, which we really don't hear about that much, but can cause a lot of damage. All right, so that is kind of the DACA update. Again, if you have any questions and you're watching later, drop them down below, send me a message. We'll work my hardest to get back to you. That's the latest on DACA. Now, the other part, you're excited. You're going to go out to vote tomorrow. You're going to encourage people to go out and vote tomorrow if you don't have the ability. And if the government doesn't give you that ability yet to vote, and you're out there pushing the candidates that you want, awesome, beautiful, make it happen. Another thing that you can do while maybe you're in between calls, taking a break at your phone break, while you're driving out there door knocking from one neighborhood to another, you can send a comment to the federal government about the proposed change regulation having to do with the Flores settlement. Y'all remember that one? The Flores settlement, just to give you the brief overview, was that case that was filed back in the 80s, adjudicated in the 90s with the settlement, that to narrow it down and condense it for you, Cliff Note style, essentially says nowadays, kids can't be in a detention-like setting for longer than 20 days. If so, you got to release them, and we can't keep the kids detained indefinite. Trump administration went back to the court, the Flores court, and said, please amend that, because there's this new crisis of people coming across with their children, and we need to be able to detain them longer than 20 days. Judge laughed them out of the courtroom and said, no way, not in a million years is that going to happen in my courthouse. Kids are kids, you got to treat them as children, no longer than 20 days. What does the Trump administration do? They go back and change the regulation. Let's just change the regulations so that we can say we can do this. And they've issued a written guideline, which is now available for comment. Right, so I'm gonna pull this up here, see if we can get this guy back over. And Rosemary, I will try to go slower this time. Don't worry. This is regulations.gov, an official federal government website. And here we say the proposed rule was issued by Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Bureau, our friends over there at ICE, and it gives the summary here. I encourage you to read the summary with a large bit of skepticism. It was submitted by ICE. It was written by ICE. Let's take a look at just one little sentence here so I can give you an example. Most prominently, the rule would create an alternative to the existing license program requirement for family residential centers, so that ICE may use appropriate facilities to detain family units together during the immigration proceedings consistent with applicable law. Kind of sounds nice. Oh, wow. Thanks, ICE. You're trying to look out for families. Wrong, incorrect. What the legality is behind that is they're trying to say, don't require us to use a facility that has to be accredited by the state, overseen by the state, to ensure we're treating children with dignity and respect. Let's get rid of that so we can keep the families together, and let us do it for longer than 20 days that we can do it for right now. So a lot of shadiness going on by the government. And there's a couple of ways that you can submit your comment, as you see here, on or before November 6, 2018. So right after this, you can go over there. I'll drop the link down here below. You can probably see it up here, regulations.gov/document, a whole long string site after that. Don't worry. You can come to this website. I'll post in the comments later, or you can do this, all right? So ice.regulations, see if I can get this a little bit bigger here. ice.regulations@ice.dhs.gov. I'll leave this up for a while. Don't stress about it. Give me a screenshot right now if you're using your little iPhone there. So you have that email address. In the subject line, write DHS docket number ICEB-2018-0002. Right, so leave that up there, screenshot it. When you're done, send that email over. And it looks like there's even Rosemary's putting down some proposed language that you can put in there to send over to this email address if you so desire. The thing is that they can't be exactly the same. I know Ayla has one where you go to their website and there's like a template already. You have to change it up a little bit. I'll put that one down there too if you want to make it a little bit more standard to what Ayla's saying. But my advice is take a few minutes, Google Flores settlement, read an article on it. Really what you got to do is just send a comment over there saying you oppose the change, you're against detention of children indefinitely, you're for the Flores settlement and abiding by what the judge has said. Put that in your own language, tell your own story. So lawyering is what I did all day today in Superior Court on a couple of felony cases, and federal court on a felony cases. Get up there and tell stories. That's what I did today. That's what I'm asking you to do. Tell your story, write your story about why you are not happy with the Trump administration's attempt to change the Flores settlement, which allows children to not be detained longer than 20 days, and the facilities having to be accredited by the state, overseen by the state. How important is that? You can use this example if you so desire. Southwest Keys had 2 of their facilities shut down, entered into a settlement agreement with the federal government because they're licensed by the state of Arizona. The state of Arizona did the investigation and found that they were not complying with the regulations, looking out for the safety and the welfare of the children. And in fact, there was someone arrested for sexually abusing the children, and probably because they weren't following the proper procedures. That's why it's important to be regulated by a state agency when you have private entities who are doing it for profit to trying to make money off these children and potentially hiring people who are going to abuse these children. We want to make sure there is oversight from the local entities as well. We do not want to get rid of that. We do not want to keep children detained for longer than 20 days. We want kids to be free, be able to be kids, to live their life. That's why we're asking for you to comment on this, in addition to all the great things you're going to do tomorrow to get out the vote. Again, it won't take you more than probably 10 or 15 minutes. You can do this email address, send it over there as well. As of today, it looks like there's been 56,916 comments submitted. Let's see if we can get that number up to 100,000 before the end of the day tomorrow. Share this video, like this video, do your own post, your own graphics, get people to go there and send the email. And the link also, I'll submit it because there's another way where you can go ahead and do that. Let me get this back up here. So it says there's a couple different ways down here. Oh, well, you can see that, but you can go straight to this link and submit the comments, or here you can do the email. You could also old school mail it. And you can also just hand deliver it there if you're in the capital, Washington, D.C. So either of those 4 options you have. What does the ALA one look like? This is the page over here. If you go to immigrantjustice.us, let me see if I can get straight there to show you how it's done. www.immigrantjustice.us. And then that takes you here. And then you go to advocacy, how we advocate. You with me? Advocacy, how we advocate. And then down here, submit a comment against indefinite detention of children. That takes you to their beautiful page here, where you can fill in your information, contact information over here on the left. and you can add to what they've already put in right here. So if you want that as well, with a little template and some more reading material for you, immigrationjustice.us. Thank you, the great folks at AILA, American Immigration Council, for putting together such a user-friendly way to submit a comment. And again, you can also send the email out there as well. All right, folks? So that's it. I hope your candidate, your proposition, your ballot initiative, whatever you got going on, whatever you've been working hard for the last few months is victorious tomorrow. This is the end of the road for whatever campaign you've been working on. Much props and respect for you getting out there and following your passion and pushing forward what you believe in. And at the same time, let's not forget this Trump administration will continue to do evil things regardless of who else we put in for the midterms, so we can make big changes, including putting new people in office and making these comments to the ICE about how horrible their policy change is, right? So look forward to a wonderful day tomorrow at the polls. And if you need any help with the election monitoring, figuring out where your polling place is, whatever it is, 602-910-4040, we're available for you tomorrow. We're not the election experts, but we are here for the community. We're here to serve. So if you have any questions on where do I go vote, how do I find my polling place, give us a call as well, and we will do our best to guide you to the right place or the right resource to make sure you get out there and your vote gets counted. Thanks so much, everybody. Look forward to seeing you again. If you're just tuning in, you didn't see earlier, please share the video. It's important that people have the accurate information about DACA and know how to submit this comment. So we ask you to share and give us a like as well so that more people can realize it's something important that they need to know about. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a wonderful evening and good luck tomorrow.